If you are looking for a new character who can strengthen both hunt and destruction units, especially if they are follow-up attack damage dealers while also contributing to the team's overall damage output by providing true damage, then after CIPHER's release, this character will be the perfect choice for you. Yep, just a few days ago, information about CIPHER's early kit surfaced, and of course, I'll be discussing and summarizing that information, covering her kit, EIDOLONS, and signature light cone. Disclaimer, this information is very early and has not even entered the beta 3.3 phase yet, so everything in this video is subject to change. Now let's dive into CIPHER's kit. CIPHER will be a limited 5-star character with the quantum element, following the path of nihility. Her role in the team will be as a sub DPS or secondary DPS. She can inflict a debuff on enemies, and whenever an ally attacks an enemy marked with that debuff, CIPHER will perform a follow-up attack, though there is a set limit to how many times this can occur. Additionally, she can record all incoming damage dealt to the marked target and then release it as true damage to the enemy. Based on this brief kit, CIPHER seems like a great fit for follow-up attack teams, such as facial-based teams, since they can synergize well together, and maybe even Acheron, considering she also follows the path of nihility. CIPHER's basic attack is not particularly special, she simply targets a single enemy and deals quantum damage based on her attack. On that note, I forgot to mention that CIPHER is a sub-DPS who scales off attack. To make explaining her kit smoother, it's best to go over in this order: talent, ultimate, skill, and finally traces and techniques. CIPHER's talent activates when an ally's turn begins or when they take action. If no enemy is currently inflicted with the foretold debuff, CIPHER will automatically apply it to one enemy. The debuff prioritizes the enemy with the highest HP, meaning it will likely target elite enemies or bosses. However, this effect is limited to a single enemy at a time, as the debuff will only be applied to the most recent target. Once an enemy is afflicted with Foretold, any ally who attacks that enemy will trigger CIPHER's follow-up attack, dealing a percentage of her attack as quantum damage. However, there is a limit to how many times CIPHER can trigger this follow-up attack before it stops. This limit is reset whenever she uses her ultimate. In addition to enabling follow-up attacks, Foretold also allows CIPHER to enter a special state called Wealth Bond. This ability lets her record all incoming damage dealt to the enemy afflicted with Foretold. However, true damage cannot be recorded. The next question is, how does CIPHER unleash the accumulated damage after recording it? The answer lies in her ultimate. For now, CIPHER's ultimate cost is still unknown. When activated, CIPHER will attack an enemy dealing quantum damage based on a percentage of her attack to a single target. However, that's not all. She will also deal true damage equal to the total amount of Wealth Bond she has recorded to the enemy afflicted with Foretold. To put into perspective, this mechanic is somewhat similar to Kafka's dot playstyle. With Kafka, you stack dot first, and when the time is right, she activates her skill to trigger an explosion of all those accumulated DOT. In CIPHER's case, instead of using a skill, she unleashes all recorded damage through her ultimate. Another way to think of it is as the reverse of 3B Eidolon 1. While E1 3B focuses scattered damage into a single enemy, CIPHER does the opposite. Because of this mechanic, timing is crucial. Using CIPHER's ultimate at the right moment is essential, as once the true damage is dealt, the Wealth Bond effect disappears, and follow-up attack limit is reset. If you want to manually choose which enemy to inflict with Foretold, you can use CIPHER's skill. When activated, her skill attacks 3 enemies, dealing quantum damage to each of them. Besides dealing damage through follow-up attacks and true damage, CIPHER, as a nihility unit, can also reduce enemy defense by a certain percentage thanks to her first trace. The best part is that she doesn't need to take any action for this effect to apply. Just having her present in battle is enough. However, this raises an interesting question. How would CIPHER perform in multi-wave battles? For example, in Pure Fiction, when new enemies enter the battlefield, would they automatically receive this defense reduction debuff? And if so, would this debuff contribute to Acheron's ultimate stacks? Well, it's definitely something worth discussing. Previously, Wealth Bond only recorded total incoming damage dealt to a single enemy afflicted with Foretold, but thanks to her second trace, CIPHER will now also record damage dealt to adjacent enemies near the Foretold target. This means that the more damage enemies take in an area, the greater the true damage output from CIPHER's ultimate. This particular trait significantly expands her team potential, making her a strong sub-DPS option not just for follow-up attack teams but also for destruction-based teams, since many destruction characters rely on blast attacks. CIPHER's follow-up attacks damage also improves with her third trace. Not only that, but the recording rate of wealth bond scales with her crit rate, up to a certain percentage limit. Because of this, when building CIPHER, it is recommended to stack a reasonable amount of crit rate to ensure that this trace reach its full potential and keep CIPHER's personal damage consistent. As for her technique, when activated, CIPHER will enter stealth mode and gain an increase in movement speed. This effect is likely similar to Seeli's technique. Additionally, CIPHER will automatically collect any treasure chest she passes by. When entering combat, she will deal damage to all enemies, and this damage will also be recorded in wealth bond. So which characters or teams would work best with CIPHER? Based on her kit, CIPHER is an excellent partner for strong single-target DPS characters who can take advantage of follow-up attacks, with Fei Xiao being one of the best candidates. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, they have great synergy. Fei Xiao has a high single-target ultimate damage, and if that attack hits an enemy afflicted with Foretold, the damage CIPHER records will be significantly higher, resulting in an even stronger true damage burst from her ultimate. Additionally, CIPHER's frequent follow-up attacks will generate a steady amount of energy, potentially acting as a battery for Fei Xiao's ultimate and helping her deal more AoE damage. Aside from Fei Xiao, Acheron is also a potential candidate for CIPHER's team. Since both characters follow the path of nihility, they naturally benefit from similar buffs and team synergies. The Foretold debuff combined with CIPHER's first trace, which reduces enemy defense, and her frequent follow-up attacks that can be combined with LC such as Sweat Pearl, could make them an effective pairing, but we will need further testing during the beta to confirm how well they actually work together. That being said, CIPHER is not limited to just Fei Xiao or Acheron. Many DPS units could potentially benefit from her abilities, making her a versatile sub-DPS choice. And it's not just DPS characters. Robin would also welcome CIPHER to her team. Since CIPHER frequently triggers follow-up attacks, she can contribute to Robin's ultimate regeneration when she enters concerto mode, keeping the team's damage and buffs consistent throughout the battle. What I also want to briefly discuss is not just team synergy, but a comparison. CIPHER's kits share some similarities with Topaz, as both highly value follow-up attacks. However, there is a key difference in how they mark enemies. With Topaz, you can't control Nambi's mark unless you manually use her skill to target a specific enemy. In contrast, CIPHER's mark, Foretold, automatically prioritizes the enemy with the highest HP. This makes CIPHER's targeting system much easier to control and arguably more convenient. However, the question remains, is Fei Xiao better off with Topaz or CIPHER in her team? Unfortunately, that's something we can't determine yet, since CIPHER's numbers and scaling values are still unknown. So all we can do now is wait for the beta to start. But everything I mentioned earlier only applies to CIPHER at Eidolon 0, so how does she perform at higher Eidolons? Her first Eidolon further increases the damage recorded in Wealth Bond, making her true damage output even stronger. However, the exact percentage of this increase is still unknown. Additionally, when CIPHER attacks an enemy, she will increase the amount of damage that enemy takes for a certain number of turns. At Eidolon 2, CIPHER's personal damage sees a significant boost, especially her follow-up attack damage. On top of that, she will restore a certain amount of energy, helping with her ultimate uptime. Hopefully, CIPHER's energy cost is not too high, so she doesn't end up being too reliant on this Eidolon for consistent ultimate rotations. Her fourth Eidolons introduce an additional source of quantum damage. Whenever an ally attacks an enemy afflicted with Foretold, CIPHER will deal extra quantum damage to the target and enemies nearby, giving her more AoE presence. Finally, at Eidolon 6, CIPHER perhaps gains a huge damage boost, and I expect this to be a major power spike. Normally after using her ultimate, the damage recording resets, but at E6, CIPHER will retain a portion of the previously recorded Wealth Bond damage. CIPHER will retain a portion of the previously recorded Wealth Bond damage, allowing her to carry over some of that accumulated power into her next cycle. This could make her ultimate hit significantly harder, especially in longer fights where she has time to stack up high damage values. It's still way too early to decide which Eidolon is worth pulling for, especially since beta V1 has not even started yet. So let's leave it at that for now and move on to CIPHER's signature light cone. CIPHER's signature light cone provides additional crit rate, which will be useful for her damage consistency, as well as for boosting the damage recording from Wealth Bond. On top of that, every time she uses her skill, the target hit by the attack will have its defense reduced. And if CIPHER lands a critical hit, the defense reduction becomes even stronger. Overall, this light cone seems quite solid, not just for CIPHER but to other Nihility units as well, thanks to its flexibility. The defense reduction effect makes it a valuable asset for many teams, potentially boosting overall team damage significantly. So that wraps up the early breakdown of CIPHER's kit, including her Eidolons and signature light cone. But just a quick disclaimer, this is all still early information, and many details could change before V1 officially release. What do you guys think? Does CIPHER interest you, or are you leaning more towards skipping her? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please hit the like and subscribe button for more content. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you guys in the next one.